a country on the eastern part of the African continent, often associated not with fashion. Yet, today's guest is going to be sharing some insights about the work that she is doing based in Sudan. Welcome again to my channel. I'm Jacqueline Shaw. I am your African fashion business coach, director of African Fashion Guide, author of the popular book Fashion Africa. And I want to welcome you to my channel. Do make sure to subscribe to the channel with new videos every Thursday. We'll bring you some trainings and we'll bring you some amazing people doing things on the ground in the continent of Africa in the area of fashion. So come on, let's dive in to the video. For today's video, we've got a lady called Hadeel. She is a Sudanese creative. She's a creative director. She's a researcher. She works within fashion sustainability as an activist. She's also been working very closely with our friends over at Fashion Revolution, but they're Sudan based. And she is the founder of something I really, really love what she's doing called #Africa is not a landfill. She's got so many things she's going to be sharing with us today. I'm going to let her speak about it and how that works accordingly to her multidisciplinary creative studio, Davu Studio. So let's dive in and speak with Hadeel and learn more about the amazing work she's been doing in Sudan.
Hi, Jacqueline. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you, Hadeel. So good to have you here. Thank you for your time.
Good to be here. Yeah,
so,
sure.
You know, I've tried to introduce you, but I want you to do a better job than what I've done. Tell us a bit about Davu Studio, about all the work you've been doing. And we're going to bust some myths about your country, about, you know, what sustainable fashion, ethical fashion is. So, yeah, do share a bit more about who you are so that we can give the right impression of everything we're going to be sharing today.
Sure. So my name is Hadeel Osman. I'm from Sudan. And basically, I'm a creative director. I come from a full-on multimedia visual background. I'm also a stylist. And I love fashion. Fashion is a huge part of who I am, of my identity. And I started really understanding the concept of sustainability, I want to say like 5 years ago, when I bumped into Fashion Revolution's pages on social media. And before that, I was, and I still am, I'm an avid thrifter. For me, clothes are a prize. They're prized items. So I really take care of them. I like to hunt for them. And I slowly really got into researching and understanding what really the African fashion supply chain looks like. Because you see a lot of people saying, especially from the Western point of view, they want to support African fashion, but then there's really no, there's no straightforward line to where it starts and where it ends, the A to Z of things. And it kind of feels a bit like appropriated at times. So that's how I got into the research side of it, the activism side of it. With the pandemic, a lot of information has come to the surface about, the issues with the fashion industry from a global perspective. So even before then, I was really interested to have a Sudanese version of Fashion Revolution, or basically the Sudan chapter. And so we're very happy to say that we got, and we're officially started in August of last year, 2020. I'm the country coordinator for it. We have an amazing team that's growing every day. We're trying to involve different segments of our population to really be involved, not just to volunteer, but to also be a part of the change. Because like you mentioned in the beginning, nobody really thinks about fashion when they hear Sudan, and we're getting to the terms that people think about later. But what we've been seeing since 2017 has been this really flourishing contemporary fashion scene. And my vision and my dream is to be one of the many people that make it into an actual industry. So it's not just like an individual designer trying things out. No, it's an actual full-fledged industry. People are making proper wages from it. We're able to also market Sudan differently and whatnot. And so this is within my relation to Fashion Revolution. I'm also a co-founder of the Arabic team for Slow Fashion Movement, which is about basically leading a slow fashion life. And we create content in Arabic because there was literally none
That's
that
awesome.
spoke in the formal Arabic language. Yeah. And we also talk about how sustainability and slow fashion is deeply rooted within our cultures. And obviously, the same is
Hmm.
seen throughout the African continent. So our content is quite different from the other global pages because they're more from a Western point of view or maybe industrial, like indie and whatnot. But for us, it's more like, hey, this is who we are. And it's nice to go back to the root and to really look at clothes as an investment and as, a part of who you are to take care of. Aside from that, yes, I am the creative director and founder of multidisciplinary studio. It's called Davu Studio, and it stands for Designing a Visual Utopia. Like I mentioned in the beginning, I am a completely visual person. This is what I studied. This is my career,
You are
and
amazing.
I
Can I just add
thank.
in those for those who have not, the links are all below. For those who have not seen her work, it's just like your eye for visually for the
Thank
visual.
you.
It's like a visual exploration. It's just like a as well. I just love it. Explosion of just love it. People go check out Davu Studio, check out the work that Hadeel has been doing, and yeah.
Thank you
Go
so
ahead,
much.
continue. Start to
Thank you. I
speak a
really
little bit of.
appreciate that.
I love it.
Thank
That's how I
you.
connected with you. I thought, what? This is awesome. Who's doing this? And I connected more and more. So
Yeah.
I'm glad.
That's
I'm glad we connected through your visual work, your visual art.
Thank you so much. And yeah, it's actually in 2 days we're going to be 3 years old. Like the company is going to be 3 years old,
So,
and we started as a place to showcase the kind of visual work that we do for clients. But then I just went ahead and decided this needs to be a company. So basically, all your visual needs. This is what we cover from branding to graphic design. We also do a lot of creative consulting. We develop concepts. We art direct, creative direct, style. So anything that's going to make your finished product look exactly how you want it to be, we do it from A to Z. And I started this in Sudan, but I've also been in and out of the country. I've basically been all over the continent since 2017, and that's how I wanted us to not necessarily have a base. We work everywhere within the continent for the continent. So a lot of our subjects, a lot of the people that you see um, in our visual work, if it's promotional, everybody's black, all shades of brown. The idea is to really normalize what advertising and what promotional work should look like. I need to be able to see someone who looks like me or who looks like they could be my cousin, and to relate in terms of like skin tones, body, background, wherever. Really, I think this is how we take over the media and how we make content for ourselves. So this is why I called it designing a visual utopia, because I want that utopia to be within the continent, even when things seem quite tough. So and that's also where we also do a merchandising curation for companies or fashion brands that or even pop-up shops, any kind of events where they want to sell things. We'll show them
International?
what works.
Is that international brands or is that mostly African-based brands? Just for those.
Mostly African, yeah, mostly African based. But we're open to if an international brand obviously wants to bring their stuff into Sudan or Africa, we'd be more than happy to give these services. And also we do a little bit of sustainability research as well, since this is becoming more of what I do on a day-to-day basis. So we've included it as something that we can provide to clients who want to have a better supply chain, or just want to reach their people with less waste or less issues. So I think that's a decent background of what I do and who I am.
Really good, really, really good for people to see a
Thank you.
different viewpoint as well, and just the skills and talents. But then, okay, so in some ways, that's kind of a bit of activism in there about showcasing a different perspective within
Mhm.
media, within branding and communication, I guess, in that sense. So that's one side of it. But we know that you are standing for fashion revolution, standing for ethical fashion. So the
Yeah.
activism, how did that really start? And then
Mhm.
share a bit more about Africa is not a landfill, and the concept around that. I'm sure
Okay.
there's a link.
Yeah, definitely. So my activism actually started very on the ground, like with family and friends, because I stopped purchasing any sort of fast fashion in 2018. I decided September 2018 I was done. I was not going to contribute, and I was also going to try to not even buy secondhand clothes or fast fashion. Just the whole system seemed very far away from my beliefs and what I want to stand for and what I want to advocate for as an individual. And in during the right before the lockdown last year, I want to say in early March, well, lockdown in Sudan, I was looking to kind of be involved somehow with online activism because I realized, you know what, it's not enough for me to just decide I want to be better. I need to, and you know, it's not enough also to just tell family and friends or try to persuade them. It's important to have a louder voice. And since I care so much about the industry, I care so much about my country and about my continent and seeing it flourish, I need to find a way to reach a wider audience in a way that is not blaming, it's not shaming, it's actually involving you into, you know, hey, it takes collective action. So I stumbled upon a slow fashion movement. At the time they were called Slow Fashion Season, and it was just a 3-month campaign, you know, like a pledge to not shop fast fashion and whatnot. So I
Yeah.
got involved with them, and I became the first Sudanese ambassador with them, and they were starting to grow their team. And from that point on, I was like, okay, it's not enough to just be an ambassador and talk to my people about this. I need to really you know, properly do research and properly advocate for a good cause. And so from there came the hashtag Africa is not a landfill. And
Mm.
actually I had this idea from March, but then I was kind of hesitant to you know, unleash it because I realized I have an issue with social media, even though a lot of my work is on it, is that I'm not sure if, you know, creating a hashtag is enough. But I was like, let me just use this as a place where you can find content related to this and to talk about it. And my reasoning to why I called it Africa is not a landfill is because every African country that I've been to, I've definitely shopped from secondhand markets, and I've seen how things are being sent to these countries, how things are managed, and how a lot of the times these donated clothes that come from the from the global north, they are in terrible shape. They are basically garbage, and how a lot of this seeps into our landfills, into our streets. Like right now, I'm in the middle of Khartoum, and I wish I could show you, like, the street is basically full of trash, and including in that trash is clothes. So, and how we see that in our rivers, we see that in our everywhere. So it's really ruining our already very vulnerable and very fragile environment within the African continent. So I wanted to really address that, because when people talk about sustainable fashion from especially people in the global north or from Europe and North America, it's seen as a trend. It's seen as something cool to do for now because it's
Mm.
relevant. But for me, it's like, it is not it's not Africa's problem that you are wasteful. It's not Africa's problem that your consumption is not conscious whatsoever, that you have fallen into the trap of consumerism and capitalism. Why am I in my country, in my continent, having to pay the price? Why are our future generations having to pay the price of climate change because of all this mass produced clothing at the end of the day being thrown here in a very vulnerable land? And we live in the equator, so you already know the climate change situation is worse, way worse on us. So it just felt like it's not enough to just talk about it and tell people how to style what they already own, to tell people, hey, maybe don't shop from fast fashion, maybe you should consider supporting local. This is good, and I was doing that and I continue to do that, but I just felt like it's not enough. I need to really address what is waste colonialism. We have to stand up to these systems of oppression that are within this beautiful industry that we call fashion. So that's really the driving force behind it.
That I'm so totally with you. My work, I did my ethical fashion masters in 2009 to 11, which is how I started this business. And was researching the secondhand clothing industry, and it was very, very insightful at that time. Very, very insightful what's happening within that for Africa, because I focus on Africa and its textile industry. So that's part of it. It is part of its textile industry. There is on this YouTube channel, in the Fashion Africa Voices playlist, there is an interview with a company called the OR. You may have heard of them.
Yes,
Yeah, in
they're
Ghana.
I absolutely love everything that they do. Yes.
So awesome. They're
Yeah.
just like missionaries for to spread awareness and advocacy
Okay.
and activism in a way that for change. So for those
Mhm.
watching, do check out that video as well. I'll put a link here in the video, but do go and
Mhm.
check out that one as well. So you can understand a little bit more about what Hadeel is talking about and why she's
Mhm.
also so passionate and why I researched this at the beginning of my career into African fashion. So
Mhm.
on a positive tone though,
Yeah.
I mean, I have to celebrate you. I mean, how old, can I share how old you are?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I know you're in the early 20s, 23, 24.
No, I actually turned 30 next week.
Oh, stop it. Why am I thinking you're much younger? Now I'm just shaming myself.
No,
Okay,
no, it's
she's
okay.
turning 30,
I
but
have a baby face.
she's looking for 23, 24. She's a young woman. But I must
Thank you.
celebrate you on your achievements because you have you shared with me how you were featured in in Forbes for the 30 under 30, and
Yeah.
you've been featured on other influential lists. So there's a lot of good
Mhm.
stuff that you're doing. You're getting recognized as you should be for your
Yeah.
work, and that also puts a spotlight on Sudan. You know, you're
Mhm.
based in Khartoum
It
in
does.
Sudan, but it puts a spotlight on the country, on the city, and on the culture there. Like within
Mhm.
the fashion industry, within the work that you're doing, and just working in that country,
Mhm.
what some of the challenges you found and some of the positives that you'd like to share? Let's look at both sides of, your country and your
Mhm.
city, so others can learn a bit more and understand and have a bit more respect for the country and insight. Above
Definitely.
all,
Yes,
I want to learn more, so please do share.
definitely. So I want to say one of the main positives and the reason why I decided I wanted Sudan to be my base in the first place, over the past 4 years, is basically Sudan is a raw land. There is so much opportunity. Whatever idea you come up with right now, trust me, it has never been done before. So that's why it's beautiful. Yes, you can come here with any idea. You need a little bit of capital and you just start it off. And even if you don't have capital, you can come here, test the waters, find funding, find a way to make it happen, and it will work. And most likely, you will win, just because we're so far removed from the modern world, and even so, we're so far removed from our neighbors. Like we are decades behind Kenya. We are decades behind Ethiopia and whatnot. So a lot has to do also with our revolution, which really helped regroup people together and make them think that we need to advance, we need to get it together. We have so much talent in this country that is just has been hidden because of political issues, but now you really see it flourishing. The art scene, the creative scene, and the fashion scene, which I believe, arts and culture for me, this whole is the umbrella under which all these people, all these talents live. And there's so much potential for greatness here. And this is why I absolutely love the country. In contrast with the challenges that we go through, which are, we have bread queues. Bread is our staple food. It's hard to find. We've got petrol issues, deficiency in gas. I'm talking to you right now and I don't have electricity. The power is out. So we have so many issues economically. It's a big disaster. But what's happening is with the transitional government, we are hoping to see a lot of new changes. Basically, they're undoing 30 years of trauma and trying to, heal. So obviously we're going to have to go through a lot. We're going to have to suffer a little bit, but really any idea that someone has, if and I believe I'm actually hoping that someone who's watching this, the people who are going to watch this, if you want to invest in the fashion industry or in any industry really in Sudan, this is a welcoming message to you, because Sudan is ready to receive these things. When it comes to the fashion industry and working here, so when I came here, like I told you, there was a like this sudden emergence of a contemporary fashion scene. A lot of people were interested in creating their own kind of work. Sudan is mostly known, or it used to be known for, as a textile manufacturer. And what you'll find here is there's a lot of textiles all over because our traditional attire is basically kind of like the cousin of a sari. it's a, it's 4 meters of fabric. And so fabric is a huge part of our identity. And yes, it is worn very differently in every region of the country. We have 18 states, and we're a huge country.
Big.
Yeah, it's a really big country. But you still see that fabric is essential to the average person, whether they choose to dress more modestly or even traditionally, or they want to wear something modern. So I saw a lot of opportunity to create and to design. I'm currently working on a fashion line that I've postponed for so many years, just because I really want it to be done in the most sustainable, ethical way possible. And you work in Africa, you know how hard that can be, or how time consuming that can be. But it's important to come out with quality, rather than just, put something out as a pilot and then hope for the best. So we're working on refining that. But there's a couple of textile, what do you call them, factories that are still open. Some have closed due to many issues, but there's an emergence of creating from the raw material in Sudan. And I can see in the next 5 to 10 years, we can definitely be a hub, or one of the hubs within East Africa. Maybe we'll be competing with Ethiopia and Kenya, as hubs where textile is manufactured. And we can have garment making factories that work in a very sustainable and ethical way, to set the pace for, because like I said, it's a raw land. So if we want to start something, I would really hope that people consider starting it in the best way possible, so we all reap the benefits of it.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So let's I think we're looking at, I mean, you're ready for change. I do hope that somebody watching this will see this as well, will get recognized. If I'll be shown elsewhere. And if you are watching this, do share, do tag people to come and watch, and understand a bit more about the country of Sudan and its role in the fashion industry today, or possibly for the future, because we believe Africa is now, Africa is the future. So the youngest population and the fastest growing, or second fastest growing population, or is the fastest growing population.
Yeah,
With the fastest growing population. So people look at all countries, open up your eyes, consider places you may never have considered before. There is opportunity, is what Hadeel is saying there. So do go and explore, connect with her. So somebody on the ground who could, maybe direct you. So
definitely.
what kind of solutions do you want to see? I mean, do you think it needs to be externals coming in to invest, like you said, or do you see it more as more hubs, or more for the governments to be creating councils and business studios, or I don't know, what do you think needs to be happening in Sudan for it to mitigate some of the challenges that are happening at the moment?
I think obviously we want to see government involvement and government pushing for these changes, and making legislations, but these take time. So what you have right now are citizens and creatives. Like, one of the main reasons why we established Fashion Revolution Sudan is because our main aim is to create policies that are then going to be within the government, to have a fair, proper industry, to have these laws that are passed, to basically have it be a part of our system, really. But the issue is that we cannot wait for the government. I am all for diaspora coming back and investing, but also investing with an understanding. A lot of I'm from the diaspora as well. I was born and raised outside of Sudan. I've only ever lived in Sudan since end of 2016, or I've made it my base as I go in and out. But you have to, even for the diaspora to come back, we need to be very humble. We need to be understanding of what is present in front of us, and not just come with these ideas from the other part of the world that we live in and just try to implement. I see a lot of insensitivity with that. And as a previous diaspora person myself, when I got here, the first piece of advice I was given was to be quiet and listen. And I did. And then I understood, okay, my ideas could work, but maybe not right now. Let's see what the people need. You have to understand that if you figure out what is missing, that is a business opportunity within itself. And we have a lot of factors that are missing here. For instance, I would love to see that, the clothes that keep coming in from China that are made from nylon and made from, petrochemicals, basically. I would like to see that being stopped, and having some kind of governmental focus and assistance to push local production, because there's so many creative designers here. There's so many people who just love clothes and would like to be given an opportunity to make them, and even more people who actually don't know that this is an industry. Because when you think about it as a consumer, when you buy that shirt, you're just going to buy it because you need to wear clothes. But there are people with so much talent, they just don't know where to put it. We have that. So I'm a bit weary about outside investment, but I think it's necessary, especially if it comes within the continent. I think it's great, because then, if a fellow African comes to Sudan and sees an opportunity for a textile factory, or an opportunity to train, or an opportunity to even do talent exchange, that's brilliant, because we understand each other. It's better than, a Western perspective coming in. We don't want to be the next Bangladesh or the next Sri Lanka or India when it comes to clothing manufacturing, because look at all the human rights that are not being regarded whatsoever. So I think it's essential to involve government, and because right now in Sudan, even though there is a transitional government, the people are what is moving and shaking things. So involvement of citizens, because they are the majority, is essential.
I'm seeing something like, because quite a few African countries have had campaigns, I guess, which is for local production. So like Rwanda, when they came through the president, Kagame, the push kind of like locally made, and tried to kind of kicking out secondhand clothing. There's things around, like even in Ghana, they have their Friday wear and supporting their local textiles. Nigeria had a whole Made in Nigeria campaign. Other countries, they've been looking also at, pushing that. Maybe if it's not a big campaign, but it is a message. It's like something like that needs to be there, so people's eyes can go on, oh, Sudan, they do fashion. Because the knowledge is not there. All we hear about is, civil issues. All we hear about is religious issues. This is a real talk from those in the diaspora, those in the Western world. And if you've never been to African countries, or never been in, I hate this term, third world country. I hate that term because it just sounds a bit like, who called it that?
Exactly.
If you've been in countries different to the continent that you live in, then your perceptions can be really biased. On what the news is showing you. And I remember when I went to Ethiopia for the first time, and admitting I stayed with family, with friends and their family, and I was just like, traveled around, or went out clubbing with some young Ethiopians. I was a bit younger then, went clubbing then. But it was just like, this is not the Ethiopia that I've been showcased as a British person. The whole heal the world, we are, the whole Bob Geldof campaigns and so forth. That's, the images. I'm not even gonna diminish the new mindset I have about Ethiopia. We're thinking about the old images, but those old images were in my head because of that. And I was like, this is not, I know there is poverty in regions, but we need to change the imagery. So
exactly.
Share a bit about Sudan. Understanding that there is issues everywhere, and Sudan does have its own challenges, issues. Of course, you can highlight some of those because there's need. But what are the things happening? What are the young people saying? How do they live? Break it down, sister girl. Break it down.
Thank you. So I'm not surprised about the mindset or the idea of Sudan in your mind, because this is exactly what has been portrayed in the media for the past, I want to say 30 years, because the previous regime was around for 30 years, and all they ever did was create divide between people. They spread Arab imperialism. They created religious divide, which is a huge problem. So what you saw is literally all negative. Even people were living, people were still living, people were still enjoying their life. Yes, there were a lot of restrictions and whatnot. The whole country is not Darfur. All you saw in the news was the war in Darfur, the civil issues in Darfur, but that's not all of Sudan. There are 17 other states. There are many different people. And yes, there are issues. And to this day, there are a lot of political issues, but it's different now because right now you have a new transitional government that is trying to transition from 30 years of oppression, 30 years of a lot of issues, tribalism, even internal terrorism and colorism. All these things are slowly shifting. We're not going to heal overnight. It never works like that. But people are living in well. We have the same issues that every other country deals with. Economical issues, we've got that, but our situation may be a bit different. I'm speaking to you right now. I mentioned it. My power is out, but I'm still able to connect to internet. I'm still able to do my work. If I go outside, I can make something happen. So we do struggle. It is very, very hard. It does not feel like 2021. I'll be very honest with you, but I'm still able to meet people who work in this industry. They are hustling very hard. Hustling is a part of our lifestyle. Whether you like it or not, you just have to. We look at these things that happen to us not as a defeat, but more like, we just have to get through it. There's no other option because the only other option you have is you can leave. And a lot of people are leaving. I said goodbye to a couple of my friends this month because they decided they couldn't do it anymore. So they're going to go find life somewhere else and then come back or try to, from their savings, send money to family, send money to business partners to get something cracking. But these are issues that everybody kind of goes through, especially in time of uncertainty with the pandemic and whatnot. The rest of us are trying to stay to make it happen. And yes, it gets really frustrating, but we have nature, we have running water most of the time, we have each other. We're a very community based uh, people basically, and you see this in Africa. We're more community based and less individualistic. And
Yeah.
with our generation, like my generation, and and Gen Z right now, who I'm seeing, graduating university or still working or still in school, they are getting multiple jobs. They are, showcasing their work. Creative work is seen as as an important thing right now, not as a hobby. The perspective is
Mhm.
changing, and people are literally finding every single way to make it work. And I think this is what makes us a resilient people. And this is what makes Sudan attractive. There's so many beautiful places in Sudan that you have to visit. I want to visit them as well. And they are out of this world. The water is so blue, and you have amazing masses of land just filled with greenery.
I'm trying to remember.
And
Sudan is has
under Egypt,
port. Sorry,
yes, yep, we have Port Sudan,
do
which
you
is
do you have beaches? That's what I
gorgeous.
know.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
have beaches,
okay,
we
that's
have
okay.
mountains,
I'll see
we
you later.
have, yes, definitely. We have it all. And in each region of the country, you experience different weather, you experience different food. But the one thing you that is always in common is how kind the people are and how resilient they are. And
Right.
this is something I've noticed. It doesn't matter what language or you speak, how you look, if you're Sudanese, it's just one of the things that we have as a people. So yeah. I would love to see more tourism coming in. I know a couple of my friends are working very, very hard to make this an industry as well. So with that, we could add fashion to, as an opportunity for
That would
tourism.
be awesome. I mean,
Yeah,
tourism in Africa is a growing thing, isn't it? It's
yeah,
like I think
it
since
is.
the euro and people are challenged with the fact they're not really saving much money like we used to back traveling to
Yeah.
Europe from different countries when it was
Hmm.
different types of currencies. So now a lot of people are going to Africa because they see it as cheaper. Africa's got a load of beaches around the whole continent.
Exactly.
Lots going on: culture, music, food, fashion.
And I'd like to add one
Weather.
more thing.
Yeah, go
Sorry.
for it.
Like the structure that we see that seems attractive to us, from the Western world. You see how everything runs by a system, and it does seem attractive to us. But at the same time, the lack of structure that I have experienced in Sudan has allowed me to come up with things or ideas that I've never thought were possible.
Right.
So we need to look at, sometimes chaos is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
And we don't have to, and our idea of evolution of Africa does not have to be the same way that the Western countries have done it. We don't speak the same languages. We don't eat the same food. We don't interact the same ways. So our idea of growing Africa can be from our perspective. It
It
does not
needs
have
to
to
be.
be from a Western perspective. That's
Yeah.
why I see opportunity in whatever issues we're going through. It's worth it.
I'm so glad you said that because it should do. It
Mhm.
should come from within. There's
Yeah.
so much talent. That's why I fell in love with Africa. Just like
Mhm.
there's opportunity, there's talent. Yes, there's all these restrictions, but we're not going to focus on that because that's what the rest of the world wants us to look at. What Africa
Yes.
can't do. Africa has
Hmm.
been feeding the world. Africa has been bejeweling the world. Africa has been providing oil to the world and so much agriculture and so much other things. So can
Hmm.
Africa, do for its own as well?
Exactly.
Opportunities there with all the mines, like what you're saying. It's actually creating more of all the restrictions are creating an enabling environment for you to come up and think out of the box
Hmm.
and
Use
collaborate
what you
and dig
have. Yeah.
deep.
Be resourceful.
Exactly. So,
Hmm.
what are the opportunities for the development of the fashion industry from an African perspective? What are you seeing as opportunity for
Hmm.
development of that on the
I'm
continent?
seeing on the content, yes. I'm seeing a lot of opportunity in terms of you've got the ready-made, like you've got the textile industry and the designers that want to create collections, and you also have the secondhand market. I'm seeing a lot of creatives that want to, they have the talent, they just need that financial boost, and this is something that is just, oh, you can see this over all the continent. So if there were people out there who are really interested in seeing an actual fashion industry, I highly recommend looking at the education route. There's opportunities to open formal and non-formal education institutes for people to really find their path and then to give them opportunities to work. So this is in terms of like traditional fashion design, traditional, the fashion industry. But when we come from a more sustainable aspect, we have so much that is being dumped into the country in terms of like secondhand, and a lot of designers right now who cannot afford or who just don't want to really support textiles coming from outside of the continent, they're using these clothes, these scraps, and making them into new things and
Mm-hmm.
selling them. So there's opportunity to also, support that. First off, support how they can source these materials and how they can reuse them, and also recycling or upcycling from a fashion perspective. There's so many opportunities. Like I'm sure you've heard of Rewoven. They're based in South Africa, and basically what they do is they source these secondhand clothes and scrap clothing, and they make them into fibers, and
Also,
then these fibers are used by African and South African designers to make their own collections. So we're using what is already available to us that has been sent to our continent as waste, and we're basically the model of circular fashion. This is where investment needs to be put into Africa, 100%. So it's education and it's also industrial elevation. So I see those as perfect opportunities to do that. There's so many young people that are looking for jobs. There's so many young people with a creative eye, and they just need to be put, given opportunities, and then they will find themselves. They'll find where they can fit in this supply chain. So Africa can be the continent that also clothes people.
yes, I love it.
Mm.
I love it. Love, love, love. I'd like to see actually discussion I was having with some people actually on Clubhouse the
Nice.
last week. It's just the importance of the
Hmm.
documentation of what's happening with all the changes, and we're seeing all the things you're talking about.
Yeah.
Documenting, are the traditional textiles there? What are they traditional textiles there? Are they the general get my words out, traditional wear, clothing
Hmm.
as well as the textile? How do people dress, and how are people, maybe there's a new kind of style changing and they're fusing, east and west kind of things together. So maybe these things to be documented so that we can tell things from the African perspective of what is happening on the ground as
Hmm.
well. And with that, if somebody's like, what, I'm either Sudanese or I'm European or wherever it is, another African country, And I want to kind of explore Sudan and get in there, and knowing that now things are changing a bit politically. Yes, it will take some time,
Mhm.
but they want to enter. What would be some of the tips and advice? I mean, I love what somebody told you. Basically,
Mhm.
be quiet and listen
Mhm.
and learn, which is great advice. On top of that, anything else that you would like to recommend to anybody else when it comes to starting? Maybe there's a particular town to go to, maybe there's a particular
Mhm.
group of people to speak to. Obviously, Davu Studio. But what would you recommend they do to start with?
I would also recommend coming, like, give yourself a time, maybe like 2 weeks to a month, and come to Khartoum. Um, Obviously, do your own research online, and if and contact whoever is within the scope that you want to work in. And this is actually something I did. In mid 2016, I came to Sudan for a month, and I kind of decided to connect with people within my field. And I messaged some people in advance, or when I got here, I was able to link up with them, kind of understand how people are working, how people are living, and figure out, do I want to work for someone? Do I want to invest in something? And if you just allow yourself to be here 2 weeks to a month, figure it out, have ample time, try to make connections in advance, DM people. Sudanese people are very helpful. I already mentioned that. But
Mm.
if you message someone, they will get back to you, and they will help you also connect to people that are maybe even more relevant to you. And check out the different avenues that you can be resourceful to. So there's a couple of big textile factories, but they mostly do like military wear and stuff. So it's still worth finding out, who do they work for, what do they do. There's companies that make uniforms. Contact them. Contact individual designers. Contact designers that are from the diaspora that maybe make clothes outside and sell them here, or vice versa. And contact Fashion Revolution Sudan, for instance. So I'd be more than happy to help. And so if you just, all you have to do in Sudan is literally just talk to one person, and then make your intentions clear, and they will help you out. Even though we have a lot of issues at the moment, Sudan is very, very open and ready for investment. So you can still come here, figure out your niche, exactly what it is. And like I said, any idea you have has probably never been done before here, so it will stand out. And people will also reach out to you once they hear about you. So, networking and connecting in Sudan is one of the absolute easiest things you can do. Um, just, if you can get on a plane and come here, that would be wonderful.
I'm loving it. I'm so, so glad I had this conversation with you.
Thank you.
So, so glad that you're open to it. And, this is the important um, knowledge, building knowledge, raising awareness, showcasing the new side, changing narratives. I've got a whole new insight of Sudan now just from this one conversation. And I'm hoping that this message coming from here will change people's perception of how they may have thought of Sudan before watching this full video. So
Good.
I want to thank you for that. And is there any last things you wanted to share? Maybe remind people of your company, the website, or your socials, and I'll put everything below anyway. But if there's anything that you've got coming up later in the year that you wanted to say, oh, we're launching a new website, or we're doing a digital show, or
Mhm.
launch a book or something, please share. If there's any amazing things we should know, please let me know now.
Definitely. Well, we're working on launching a social enterprise that is focused on teaching people, but at the same time creating a collection as well, a sustainable fashion collection. So we want it to be like a system, a circular fashion social enterprise, basically. So we're trying to launch that, and we're trying to do our best that it is based outside of Khartoum, because we want to target people that really do need proper income, but they also want to tap into the creative market. So that's something we're working on right now. I'm very, very excited for it. Also going to be collaborating with several Sudanese designers in and outside of Sudan, to come up with some clothes, or basically clothes collections that are also made from sustainable materials. We really want to make that the norm. Circular fashion needs to become the norm. Out with the capitalistic typical fast fashion concepts, and in with what really works. And Fashion Revolution Sudan is going to be hosting Fashion Revolution Week in Khartoum in April. So we're very excited about the events that we're trying to come up with, and some of them are going to be digital as well. But yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity, Jacqueline. And people are you're welcome to message me, email me. All the contacts will be provided by Jacqueline below, and I'm more than happy to connect with anyone and everyone that works in this beautiful industry, whether they're in Africa or outside. And yeah, there's amazing opportunities to build our continent, and it starts today.
Amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So yeah, opportunity to build our continent, and it starts today. So if that's something that you're thinking of doing, do reach out to Hadeel. If you're thinking of checking out Sudan, learn a bit more about it. If you need some extra support starting your business, do reach out to African Fashion Guide, and we'll be able to get you the extra support. But remember, sign up and subscribe to this channel, and you'll be notified of new videos we have every single week. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video.